The SA Rugby Coaches Indaba is underway in Cape Town. It's been 6 years since the South African team won the Super Rugby title and 7 years since the Boks last won a trophy of any significance. Springbok Rugby is going through a dark patch which has seen their status as one of the elite rugby playing nations being questioned. In the wake of poor results in 2016, the country's coaches, directors of rugby and even CEOs have come together to plot the way forward. A major talking point will definitely be the administration structure of the sport in the country. SA Rugby has admitted that its current system is flawed. The big question now is whether the unions and franchises will take these words to heart. The Coaches Indaba, which is being facilitated by former Boks centre Brendan Venter, will conclude this afternoon.
I don't think South African rugby is in crisis, but I'm waiting to see what those who believe that it's in crisis to come and tell me why. If there is a point of strengthening the coaching staff, let them do that. But if the coaching Indaba is about strengthening our methods, our philosophy, our style of play, to strengthen Kotsi, I think it is important. But for anyone to think that a coach can turn around a squad within few games and by losing a championship, I think that is a fallacy.
And to further unpack this, ANN7 sports editor Edwin Kaswe joins us live in the newsroom. A very good morning to you, Edwin. What major aspects are we expecting to be discussed at the Indaba?
Well, the major aspects will be the synergy between the franchises and how the Springboks ultimately benefit from the South African Super Rugby teams. But, you know, a lot of ex-coaches, somebody like Nick Mallet, ex-player, fly half Joel Stransky, and Jake White, the World Cup winning coach in 2007, do not believe that that's the way to go. Andre Markgraf as well, who used to coach the Springboks, saying that, you know, the problem is not the coaching, the problem is not the cooperation between the coaches. The coaches at Super Rugby level have, in recent years, cooperated very well with the Springbok coach. There have been agreements about, you know, player management and how they rest the players to benefit the Springboks. But that's not the major issue. The major issue that the critics of this Indaba are focusing on is that rugby in South Africa needs to modernize in terms of its administration. Now, at the moment, you have an acting president. The CEO has got a court case hanging over him, Yuri Roo. You know, been taken to court by Stellenbosch University about mismanagement of funds there. So the rugby provincial presidents wield a lot of power in the local game, and that's what many people are saying, that structure needs to change, but it's not going to change at this Indaba because this is just the coaches Indaba attended by the franchise coaches. What really needs to happen is for the provincial system to be relooked at, you know, because it's got South African rugby stuck in the 70s and the 80s, and there is no single you know, effort to make sure that whatever is done in the game of rugby in South Africa is benefiting the Springboks at the top level. There's issues about you know, player exodus. You know, in the past 5 or 10 years, you would see that the players who left South Africa were the ones who were at the end of their careers, and they would go to Europe or Japan, you know, to earn a little bit of money, financial security before they retired. But now that has changed. You're seeing a lot more younger players leaving South Africa, going to play in Europe, going to play in England, going to play in Japan, and that is a big worry. It depletes your top pool of players, and that also needs to be looked at. But we're not sure whether after this 2-day Indaba in Cape Town, whether rugby in South Africa will move to the next level. I mean, we have seen the Springboks struggling. The benchmark is the All Blacks, and we have seen the Springboks struggling to match the New Zealanders. Since isolation, South Africa have struggled to keep up with the All Blacks, And that has gotten worse with South Africa losing to Japan and losing to Argentina in the rugby championship. It rings alarm bells, and I disagree with the Minister of Sport who's saying that the South African game is not in crisis. It is in crisis.
Edwin, thank you so much for that update there. We'll obviously be going back to you live as more feedback rather, from the Indaba becomes available. That is our ANN7 sports editor, Edwin Khaswe, joining us live from the newsroom talking about the rugby Indaba currently happening in Cape Town.